Sometimes the milestones that you tick off are apparent when you're looking forward, and some of them aren't obvious until you look back. Hi, I'm Nica Waters, and on today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast, I'm talking about the importance of firsts and lasts and grieving and celebrating them even as part of the cruising prep. Today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast is sponsored by Shambhala Sailing Adventures, offering customized learning charters in the Exumas, Bahamas. Sailor Like You Owner with coaching from Captain Suki Cannon. Contact her at captainsuki@gmail.com. That's CAPTAINSUKY@gmail. Mention this podcast for 10% off. One of my current favorite songs, with lyrics that I just can't get out of my head, is called Closing Time by a band called Semisonic. I'm not sure how you pronounce it because I've never actually heard the name mentioned. The line is, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." And I'll put a link to the song in the show notes so that you can hear it too if you listen to it. But be warned, it might stick in your head for a while. And this really hits home in this time of the year, particularly because we just dropped our second kid off at college. Last year was the first for our firstborn, and this year our second child we took to college. And often as we're looking at these milestones, and when you're getting ready to go cruising, there are so very many of them. You have the first time you're staying on the boat, or the first time you cook a meal on a boat, or the first time you leave the dock. There are lots and lots of firsts. And when you have something that's a first, you tend to celebrate it. You tend to maybe look forward to it. I think we all look forward to firsts, even when you think about your kids. The first time they take a step, you look forward to it and you celebrate it. Remember all that cheering and all that clapping and excitement around the whole thing? Well, as you're getting ready to go cruising, there's a whole lot of these firsts. And yes, absolutely celebrate them in whatever way is fitting. Maybe it's clapping and cheering, and maybe it's having a special dinner or opening that amazing bottle of special sparkling cider that you have waiting for you. There is another line of things that happens, though, when you're getting ready to go cruising, and that's the lasts. And sometimes it's easier to see the lasts when you look back on them, and you don't notice them until you realize that they're gone. And those are harder sometimes, and also just as important, because remember, you can't have something new starting until something else is ending. Even the kids' first steps, when they start to walk, it means that they're no longer the tiny little baby that you had first. Whether that's something to cheer or grieve is totally your own perspective on that. But so many lasts that we have, so many things that we finish or do for the last time, we don't see them until they're done. We don't even realize that it's the last time until you're looking back on it. So what would you change if you knew that it would be the very last time? What would you change if you knew that the last time you put trash out was going to be the last time you put trash out at that house? What would you change if you knew it would be the last time you saw somebody, or the last time that the kid needed a breastfeed or a snuggle from a nightmare or what have you? It hits home for me as we are absolutely in the throes of getting ready to go cruising. We're having our own firsts and lasts with our kids and with our house and with things that we're doing. And the boat is also having her own set of firsts and lasts. And things like the first time we're totally redoing the boat in 25 years. It's the last time, as we're working on her, we're taking apart things and finding little bits and pieces that remind us of the last time we went cruising with the kids. At some point, we're going to have the last yard bill in Virginia. We're going to have the last time that we leave the dock at our yacht club. Some of these lasts when we're getting ready to go cruising we can plan them and anticipate them and, yeah, even celebrate them or mourn them. I mean, sometimes there's both grieving and celebrating that happens, right? You don't have to be, everything doesn't have to be this perfect, oh, it's always amazing and always spectacular. Sometimes there's a bit of a, gee, I'm kind of sad that that part is over. And it's not because we're glad that they're done, but because they're being done, they're being ending, means that it's time for the next new thing to start. The blog post that I wrote that's associated with this podcast and kind of is the riff, set up the riff for this podcast that I'm saying, started with me talking about dropping Julian, our oldest, off at college last year. And it's not like we shoved him out of the car and gave him a kiss and said, have a good day, I love you. There was a little more involved to that, for sure. And we were happy that he was in college. We missed him because we came back to the house without him and it was weird. And at the same time, within a half an hour, we were starting to paint the walls in his room. Their change in status is not always good or bad or all good or all bad. It's a change, and recognizing that. And sometimes as you're getting ready to go cruising, it feels like you're in this middle of two worlds and your feet are in two worlds. And what I would encourage us to do, and I'm talking out loud here, but allow ourselves, and this is a trick for us as we're talking, and it's a reminder for myself as much as anything else. The trick is going to be to allow ourselves to grieve and celebrate both the firsts and the lasts, because they're all important and they set up the next stage of what's going to happen. I can't wait to see you out there. Thank you so much for spending this time with us on the Boat Galley podcast. We love it that you listen to us. Please subscribe, share it with friends. Don't forget to let us know what you'd like us to cover in future podcasts. Have a great week.